Welcome back to another episode of the Tennis Fans Podcast. This is Tuck.
And this is Tree.
This week we have a very special guest. It's our good friend Long. We did mention him in a couple of episodes back. Long, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Long, and I've been playing tennis since I was a little, I don't quite remember, I started tennis when I was in elementary school, middle school, and then I took a break, and then I started playing tennis again in high school when I was around 15-year-old as a sophomore, and I was on the high school JV team, and then I played varsity my senior year. And after that, in college, I joined the tennis club at UC Irvine, and I joined the competitive tennis club at UC Irvine. So not the team, but the competitive team. So we played other schools. We played with, my team was mostly made up of a bunch of 5-0 players. I played all 4 years, and then after that, coming after graduation, I came back to San Diego, and that's where I met. That's where I met you.
Yeah,
you guys through Chris, our friend from high school, and then I started playing tournaments a little bit. I started playing 4 tournaments, and I played a bunch of 4-5 tournaments for quite a few years. I think I played 6 or 7 years.
mostly 4-5.
Mostly 4-5.
And then you play some open.
Oh yeah, yes, that's right. I played some open for fun.
What's your highest universal tennis rating, UTR?
Before the pandemic hit, I got an 8 UTR. That was my highest rating. But then it's but for UTR, if you don't play, it just starts declining. So that's I don't play as much as I used to.
Oh, and then you got the tennis elbow for like a year or so, right? Is that what that's also contributed why you stopped playing? So what is like the sort of rehabilitation process that you take? Like what sort of steps did you take in order to kind of get back to playing?
What I did was physical rehab. I went to physical therapist, and she had me do mainly strengthening exercises once a week. But the thing about the rehab is keeping up with it. That's the hardest part of rehab, because it feels like you're done, that you're getting better, but then if you let up, then it'll come back. And there's also my bad habits that I had to fix. But that's still in progress.
What would you describe yourself, your style opening tennis? No?
Oh, my style.
Yeah.
I think I'm counter puncher. I don't really try to be aggressive too much. I rather wait, and I wait for the good opportunity to make a safe shot that I can attack.
And speaking of like background, it's pretty interesting. Growing up, you did have like a coach, right? But some of your game, you also like self-taught.
No, that's the thing I forgot to mention. I never had a coach. I had a coach when I was
okay.
I had a coach when I was little, because I had to take lessons to learn how to play tennis when I first started. But other than that, I never had a coach. I just played tennis with my friends, and that's how I progressed. I just playing.
That's why.
And in terms of like self-taught, like I mean, I guess that compares very differently to how things are now, like with all like the resources and stuff. Like I think like at that time, like there probably isn't as many like like online resources where people like now can just like, oh, let's go watch some tutorials and stuff. Like how different is it to kind of just learn by yourself during that time?
Yeah, so back then, there was definitely I didn't have YouTube back then, as YouTube is a thing that only came around 2004.
4 or 5.
Yeah, that's right around when I was a high schooler. So that back then I already had my foundation. So,
because you have I would say You have a pretty unconventional game style.
Right. So that's the thing is I didn't really watch much tennis either growing up. So all I did was mainly through try and error, like just just have a mental image for myself, and I just follow my own habits. But it leads to unconventional form. So that's what happens when you don't have a reference that you can imitate.
That's true. Yeah, because I mean, like now, like compared to how it is now, like there's so many, like I'm sure even in the early like stages of YouTube and all that stuff, like there isn't many resources that are just starting out. Like there's not gonna be people that like know how to format it a certain way. Like they're not gonna come out to YouTube and like say I'm gonna teach tennis on YouTube or something like that, since it's like very early on. Like compared to how it is now, like you have all these resources, and like anyone can like pick up tennis and just try to learn it, and by just watching videos. So I think like especially in that time, it must have been like pretty tough.
Yeah. Yes, maybe the only thing grows up is watching tennis, the professional player on TV. That's probably like maybe the main thing, and how you can teach yourself how to play tennis back then. And but yeah, back then if you don't take lessons, you can go to TV. But I didn't really watch much tennis anyways. I don't know how people actually did it. Yeah, that's a good question. And then when I came to college, I thought the guys were really good.
Yeah.
I thought they were just not really good, and I was like, "Wait, how do you guys play so well then?" And then I was like, "Oh, well, you were trained since you were 8 years old. Oh, okay, that's well, it's okay." I thought they were just good, like naturally good like that.
Yeah.
The one topic I kind of want is funny. I want to chat about, since Long mentioned it, and I kind of mentioned it as well, as like the NTRP versus UTR, the rating, because like when I first started playing tennis, that's all I know is what does NTRP stand for? NTRP is National Tennis Rating Program. It goes from 1.5 to 7.0, with 1.5 being beginner and 7.0 being touring pro.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the thing about NTRPs, I think anything above 6, it becomes not very useful to use, because at that point you're kind of like a college level player, and anything that's above 5.5 or 6.0, you pretty much college level, or you're some kind of professional, and you go by like ranking, worldwide ranking, like top.
Then what? So a majority of like that, would you say like average tennis player is 4.5, right? Like if you play recreationally, you consider between 4 to 4.5.
So yeah, if you play recreationally, pretty much the most players are going to be 4.0, 4.5, and 4.5 is pretty much the highest rating. I think it's the highest rating that you can achieve by just playing recreationally. If no means that you don't train, don't do drills, you just play and play, but then you're not working on your shots. To get to the next level, which is 5.0, meaning that you have weapons, you know how to execute those weapons. You have a strategy in mind. You can execute. Then you would be, I would call you a 5.0. And then you can also you don't miss as often.
I think that's like the flaw with like NTRP too. Is just because there's I think there's so much like ambiguity in the levels too, because there's always this talk about like that's a low 4.0, like mid 4.0, or like low 4.5. Like how do you like determine that, So I think like, I guess in a sense, like the UTR, Universal Tennis Rating System, is a little bit better, but then there's also like flaws within that system too, in that like it won't be super reliable if you don't play enough matches.
Yeah. So UTR feeds onto how you need to give it more data to be reliable. So the UTR relies on the more the better. And if you play people who have verified UTR, it's also better for you, because if you play someone whose UTR is really unreliable, then it's also you also won't get enough data. So that's but I think UTR is more precise.
Yeah, I mean, because there's like varying like levels, like
Yeah, and it's also decimals too based, whereas NTRP is by increments of 0.5. So there's a difference between 4.0 and 4.5. But VTR, if someone's one whole unit above you, say you're an 8, you play a 9, you look at both guys' records, and then you'll see that you'll see, okay, well, if you see someone's record and you see him play a 9, I would say he's going to lose. Like he'll get two games or 3 games, but consistently, like he usually will go that way. If your unit is one,
I do see a problem with UTR that like there's a specific like recreational player that we've been talking about recently that like I guess in a sense that he can kind of use the system to kind of farm points in a way. Well, I'm just gonna say it, but I'm gonna maybe cut this part out, but like because like he can kind of just choose to like not play people that are like lower than him, right? So there's not like a way for him to kind of just farm points so then he can be like a higher, like technically a higher rating.
No, but then that person you have to beat a player better than you, right? In order for your UTR to increase. Well, when you say farm, are you saying like so that his UTR doesn't decrease? You just keep it that way.
Because technically, if he like if he were to play like a lower level player, I think the UTR is based also off of like how many like games and stuff you're able to like win off of like a person too, no? So like if he were to like lose like a set amount of like games or something from a lower a person with lower UTR or the same as him, he's not gonna be able to like move up, or like maybe he risks the chance of like lowering his UTR as well. So like in the sense like if he plays against someone that's like higher UTR, then if he takes like whatever amount of games off of them, he can slowly and gradually build himself up from there.
Yeah, but the thing is that if he's, for example, let's say that individual is an 8, and he's and then he's playing somebody who's a verify 9 or 10, the difference, even though it's 1 UTR point, that's a lot. Like it's hard, like you unless the person really screw up badly, you're probably not going to be able to take like a game of that person, right? Like an 8 playing a 10 is a bit different. You can get double bagel.
I would say if someone's a whole unit above you, you'd be good for you if you actually manage to win half of the games required to make it competitive. And that's what I think that's what UTR looks at too. It matters if you get at least half of. I think if you get at least half of the games required to win the whole match, then it's considered competitive. So it can only be good for you. Yeah, the more you get, better is for you. You lose.
But I mean, yeah, like I mean, in the chance that he does play like a higher level player that's like has 100% reliability rating, if he loses, I mean, I don't think that's gonna like really affect his score all that much as compared to if he plays like a lower level player and he loses that one, or like not loses, but like gets like a close match or something like that, his UTR will definitely decrease.
Yeah, he's definitely so he's beneficial. He's beneficial from not playing people lower than him. So that's why he keep going into tournament and just drop. And that's exactly like last year when we talked about it in the last episode when I got destroyed by that 11 UTR player. Like double bagel, my UTR wasn't affected at all. It stayed the same. So I guess to kind of like end this topic, I would say, going around, I'll go first. Like between NTRP and UTR, I'd probably say like for me, I personally choose UTR over NTRP, just because it's more like both are pretty how do I say it, ambiguous. There's a lot of ambiguity, right, between the two. But in terms of like one has more clarity over the other, I personally like UTR more, and it's more clear to me. And then also on top of that, it doesn't really differentiate between like what it truly is about your level, not about like anything else. So for example, a 12 UTR woman can beat an 11 UTR man, right? Is that a correct statement?
That's just like it's a universal thing. So like that's just like your current standing level.
Yeah,
There's no like, oh, like that's not split up in like tiers.
So age or sex is not affected by UTR. So meaning that if you have a man that's 10 UTR and you play a woman that's 10 UTR, then they should be
on par. Exactly. I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least compare. So no one person shouldn't crush the other. Granted that they're both at the UTR is reliable.
Yeah. So that's what I like about UTR. If you have to pick.
Oh, yeah. I would say I prefer the UTR as well for some of the same reason you mentioned, because it's more reliable and I like having my record. Like I like having my matches recorded, so that and then if I look at someone's UTR, I like to see the decimal. Like you see, well, he's 8.5, the other guy is 8.7, so that should be 8.7 should win. Because of that, I like that precision that they has, but that precision comes at a cost, and that cost is, well, you have to play more recorded matches, be it tournament matches. I think they also count league matches count too, and I think even tennis leagues online, San Diego Tennis League, for example, or those tennis leagues that you sign up. I think those ones they start count according to those for UTR.
Oh, I guess for me, like I think UTR definitely makes sense, but like what I'm also wondering is like maybe we, like, one of us knows that, or like if we don't, then maybe somebody can like tell us about this. But like when going back to talking about like genders and stuff, like hypothetically talk about like UTR for like let's say like a woman is like a 12 UTR or something like that, right? I mean, I guess a man that's like with an 11 UTR.
Yeah, that's right.
How does that translate? Like how like in what case is a man and a woman playing singles against each other in order for them to kind of determine like the UTR?
I see his point. So like going back to what you said earlier, or what we said earlier, if we really line up a 10 UTR woman versus a 10 UTR man, is that really going to be the case that they're at the same level? Because for them to get to that point, they both have always been playing
maybe like
man or woman.
Yeah, like right, man versus man, woman versus woman.
So is it really that's a good point. That's a really good point. And I wonder if somebody from UTR or know the system well can explain to us. No, you can say that, right? You can say,
because like if you were to compare, like, okay, let's say for example like a woman that's like a 10 UTR and a man that's like 6 UTR, that's a very blatant difference. And so you can say like, okay, yeah,
she would destroy him.
And they should be the night and day difference. But like once we get into like the smaller increments, how was that determined in the first place between a man and a woman, playing technically at the same UTR level,
Yeah.
So you're saying if a woman's a 10 UTR, but that rating is determined because she's been mainly playing other women.
Yeah. So I'm just like wondering in the like at what point in time, like how is there like UTR determined? Like if we're talking technically, like, because in the case we were talking about before, how like a 10 UTR woman would be able to beat a man that's 9 UTR or something like that very easily, because like the level difference is by one, and that could be like a huge difference. But like how is that determined in the first place? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think you have to go way back and
so I mean we're a little bit unsure about that. So I mean hopefully, like we said before, hopefully someone from Universal Tennis Rating can maybe comment on this, and shed some light on this, because I'm genuinely wondering this. Yeah, maybe I'm just not educated on the system itself.
Yeah, so like going off of our last episode when we kind of want to start our next few episode of podcast in preparation for the tennis tournament that's gonna come up in the summer. Summer is right around the corner, so that's when a lot of tournaments gonna pop up. And one of the things that we want to chat about today is just general tennis etiquettes when it comes to playing tournament. Some of the things we should consider to go out there and have a fair match. Yeah, for me, I think some of the things that when it comes to etiquette, especially like in matches, there's a lot of things that pops up into my mind. Like, for example, the just in general, like you see this in professional tennis, but like sometimes like in normal tournament play too, like the timing for you to take between serve, and then sometimes the biggest thing, right? We don't have ball boys. We just you against your opponent. So how do you manage when your opponent hit a first serve, and then you're just in preparation to returning the first serve. It come at you fast, so you cannot just let it go by. But at the same time, between the first serve and the second serve is very important to your opponent. So if your opponent hit a really fast serve and it just missed, and you have that reaction, right, and you hit it back, and it goes into a back fence, and it bounces back into your opponent's side of the court. Now he or she has to go in and pick that ball up, and it technically disrupt that person from serving the time that person serving between the second serve, right? You see what I'm talking about? So in those situations, what do? Like you cannot just not try to return the serve, but at the same time you cannot just like the serve just out and then you just hit it and then it just disrupt your opponent's serving rhythm. You see what I'm saying? So like that's one of the things that like I did myself a lot in the past that I got warned for during tournament play.
You mean okay? You mean like return the first?
Yeah, and then the opponent look at me and like, what you do that for? But then at the same time, like I get it, but I have to try to return the serve, and it's so fast that I cannot just like not attempt to make it.
Yeah, that one is a tough one because it just depends. It depends on if the ball was way out and then you still this much out but then you still hit it. I would say, well, technically, if it's hindrance, I mean, it all comes out from hindrance. If the person thinks it's right, it's like there's that rule, right? It's contract like anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that rule should really apply to recreational players though, just because like it's like, again, like we don't really have like ball boys and stuff to kind of like kind of deal with like the whole the whole, I guess, hindrance type of the situation. Another like etiquette thing is to for the returner to kind of follow the pace of the server, right? And whenever the server is like ready to serve, then you should try to like, obviously like there's people that like take their time.
I would say for me, when I'm about to serve, I look at him, just to make sure that both of his feet are planted and is ready to receive the ball. Because it's a little. I have a little thing where some guys they're just. I'm still walking to the ad side, the do side, and my feet are not planted yet. They're not completely planted yet, and then it's about to serve. So that's the one thing that I don't really. I'm like him to wait for me to have both my feet planted, and then maybe like a second, and then serve. So that's why when I'm about to serve, I look at him, and then I serve, make sure he's ready. So that's my tennis etiquette kind of things. So those are like the really small details that people that tennis players really get.
I want to address the part about like the reverse serve return thing, because I want to know what everybody else thinks. Because for me, personally, I should, if the ball is closed and it's a first serve, Like even if it's like a little bit out, my reaction, like everybody who play tennis, right? You know, when you get into that zone of returning, you have to be extremely focused. You cannot have that one creeps into your mind that like I'm just going to let that ball pass me because it has a potential to be out. And if it's out, I hit it and it's going to go and distract my opponent. You see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah, I'm
so
like,
so when I get a warning in tournament saying that, oh, you know, or not a warning from an official, but like my opponent get angry at me for hitting a return and then it's almost going to this and distracting him, I think it's kind of unfair. Did you watch you said you watched the Rune versus Sinner match recently in Monte Carlo, right? Did you watch that match? There was a few incident in that match, if you recall, where Sinner, his forehand is huge, so he was hitting like crazy amount of good forehand in that match. And then there was one point, there was a few occasion where Sinner got kind of mad at Holger Rune for he hit a few ball from his forehand out, and then Holger was like hit the ball back, and then it floated and almost hit Sinner in the face. But then you know, like this is my problem about like sometimes like the media and these things like kind of make. I don't think Holger Rune is a bad kid. I think he's a very good kid. But in those situations, I'm actually taking Holger Rune's side because Sinner was not missing a crazy amount of forehand. He has to be ready to return those kind of forehand. So even in those cases where it's out, I don't know how to describe it, but like your brain is hardwired to like return those shots. If it's close, he's got to hit it. So in that case, don't get me wrong, I like Sinner, but I'm on Holger Rune on that end. And that goes to what I was saying. Is your reaction, you hardwire yourself to be returning all kind of shot. So I think sometimes people take it over the top by saying like, oh, you know, you're distracting me. It's not fair to the person who's returning the shot. So I'm just gonna end it with that on that particular topic. In terms of like general playing tournament, is keeping track of score. I've seen like I went to watch a lot of tournament and I also do this myself, but I always say the score before I play the point. But what I notice a lot of the time at like the open level, and even though like open level is the higher level, right? There's no umpire, there's no referee as well, and they never call out a score. I don't know why they do that, but they never call out a score. I've seen a lot of people do a good job of saying it at the 4-5 level, but I don't know why that is. I always think I'm a big proponent of always say the score so that there's no disagreement. Why is that? Because I've seen so many cases where people disagreeing on score. So I'm just gonna end it at that and see what like both of you guys have to say about that.
yeah, no, there's nothing for you to keep. There's no billboard or anything for you to keep track of the score, so that nobody's going to. So you have to remember the score, and then it helps you and your opponent to say the score before you play the play. So I do the same too. Yeah.
You also say the score. I think you also. Yeah.
Easy to forget because you play a lot point, and then your mind is really distracted because you're thinking a lot of things. Especially if it's a low point, you can forget. And the most dangerous one is when it's 15-30, and then it's 30 all. But then the opponent saying, "I tell you, oh no, it's 45," and then it's out, and then that can mess you up. That can mess you up big time if you don't remember which side you served all.
Yeah, I think it can only do you good if you call out the score, because like, you know, in the case that like, let's say like you call the ball out and the opponent just happens to like not hear your call or something like that, they assume that like they won the point or something.
Yeah,
You know,
that happens a lot, dude.
that
Like,
happens, I guess a lot more
then
than people would think.
yeah, like you call right. You call a ball out, they don't see it, they think it's their point, and you think it's their point, and then 2 points later, that you guys argue back to that back to 2 points ago. Dude, you actually I think you ran into some instances like that before playing against.
Oh, that happened. Yeah, that must have happened plenty of time.
To you specifically, right?
The like say the ball was out, but then the ball was clearly out, but then the guy doesn't call it, and it's it doesn't even lift his finger or anything. He assumed that the opponent knows, and then the opponent assumed, oh well, he didn't call it, it was good, but then he thinks he's at the point. So then after that, you just stay on the wrong side, have a wrong score, and that
the worst thing that can happen is both you and your opponent think that you guys think two different score.
Yeah, and then the referee comes and then he tells you, well, you have to go back.
Oh yeah,
Way to so when that happens, you have disagreement. You can't you just think something, and then your opponent thinks the other thing. Then the referee is going to tell you go back to where you both agreed, where you both remember the score.
wait. So in that situation, he's telling you to go back to that point and replay that point.
No, go back to the point where you agree.
If you have to go back to 0-0, then you have to go back to what you agree both you last. Like,
oh, okay, shit.
so if you think that if you know at one point of the game you were at 15-0, then you have to go back to that even though you think, even though you could have been deuce, but then you could go back all the way there. That's the only thing you can do, because
The moral of the story is to always say the score and to call the shots clearly and loudly so that everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, and I think like in the future, like if there's something like stuff like swing vision or something like that, if that were to be some reliable tool for recreational tennis in the future, and helping like keep score or something like that, then maybe we can rely on that. But for the time being, I think I think we can all agree that like just calling out the score clearly and calling, just shot calling in general, clearly will kind of like clear up all the misunderstandings that
and then call the score. Dude, I'm just gonna be straight up. I don't understand like whether or not like open level player they have ego or something like that.
They're too cool for
Yeah, why are they not calling score? It's so stupid. They just don't call score.
we have an amazing memory. They just remember.
I could barely remember like
This sounds ridiculous.
I guess while we're on the topic of calling the shots and stuff, you've talked to us about before of your incidents dealing with cheating in tennis or while competing.
Yeah, but yeah, that's
or just bad line calling.
Yeah, so bad calls or cheating, if you think your opponent is that's gonna happen. It's always going to happen, especially probably in a recreational setting, because there's no umpire to watch. So that's happened to me before. When I had good reason to think that my opponent may not have been calling the score correctly or standing wrong side of the court, thinking that I thought there was a certain score, but that he was standing I was not standing on the right side of the court. But when that happens, I just so that happened the first time we met, and I knew he was notorious for doing that, because whenever there was drama, the common denominator was him. So I had my suspicion before I played him already. And then when that happened, the most common thing is when the ball hits the line, it's an important point. It's a game point. It's gonna get called out, even though you see it on the line. So that one, I'll just ask if he's sure. That's the best you can do, because this is called. So the way to deal with that is letting him know that I think I have suspicion. That's the best I can do on the game point, on the big point. But then, like my very good friend John Weiss said, if that happens, then he said, I would do the same thing, just to make it even. But that's not. Yeah, that's his take on being cooked. I was kind of in this situation.
Yeah, it's just it boggles my mind because like it's like what do you get out of doing that? You know, it's just like what it's like you train tennis and like do people kind of gain satisfaction out of like just cheating somebody else out of a point just because they simply cannot they're not good enough for something like I just think it's kind of ridiculous for someone to even go down that route.
People want to win. You know, they just want to win. They don't care about they don't really care how they achieve that. That's the only reason why you want the point. We just want it, but so it's you're not going to give it like that, and that's just that's pretty much it. Like yeah, and that's the only reason why people just don't want to give away points so easily or something that's important like that.
Yeah, I just think it's ridiculous. Like I don't know.
No, I mean, take away the scenario for some people, like, when the ball is very close or very hard, like in those situations, you have to give them the benefits of the doubt that they couldn't see it, right? Like, for example, like if you're standing right on the baseline and the ball bounced right at the baseline, like it's hard for them to call it. But if that happens quite often and it's very clear that they're a cheater, then I just think it's a very unfortunate part, right? And I think for me, when those kind of scenario happen, I haven't played against a lot of like cheaters in my time playing tennis, but when those kind of thing happen, I think the best way to go about it is to play with a lot more margin and not to like go for the line so much, because that's what when we play with Aaron, that's the kind of stuff that he mentioned to us when we hit like a winner against him, but it's like right on the corner or right on the line. Most of the time when those situations happen, like people have they generally have the benefits of the doubt to call those kind of shot out in tournament, especially when there isn't a line judge. And then for cheater, that's like that's go for them, right? Like they just straight up call it out. So I think when those kind of situations happen, it's hard to do, but that's why you train to be a better player, is for you to be able to execute certain shot with high level of margin, so that you kind of eliminate those kind of situations. And then when you do that, and the person call shots out that is like clearly in, like 6 or 7 inches in, then I think it's time to like call over the referee, and then let them figure out that situation, because when it's that's what they are that's what they are there for, right? But then yeah, I wouldn't say I say even at the end of the day you lose that match to a clear cheater, I wouldn't say let it bother you so much, because you just gotta continue to move on in these kind of situations. Like I wouldn't say I listen to like John advice and like cheat back, right? Because it just sounds salty, and you really like two people trying to cheat off of each other. I wouldn't say it's like a fun sport, because at the end of the day we're out there to have fun. So that's how I would approach it. Yeah. What do you really get out of like cheating off of a person? Like yeah, they can have that victory for themselves, but at the end of the day, they know deep down inside that they cheated to get the win. It doesn't really make them feel that much better. Personally, for me, it doesn't make me feel better. So whoever that individual is out there, like cheat to get points and cheat to win match, like who you are. You're not gonna be happy with yourself at the end of the day. Yeah, yeah,
That would not make me feel
yeah,
happy with myself. Like if I call others clearly in,
yeah,
it's just
yeah. So
Or you play tennis, and it's like that's not even part of it anymore. Like you just like you're cheating the other person out of in order for it to gain like satisfaction yourself, to kind of boast like that you beat this person. Is
yeah,
then like you like like at the end of the day you know that you're like that you faked it.
yeah, and I would say this. My last thought on this is just a comment for all the cheaters out there. We're approaching an era where we're gonna start leveraging technology like swing vision. I can't imagine like 5 years from now, every single tournament, like locally at least, like not counting like practice matches, of course, but like real tournament at the USTA level, they're gonna have like a phone, that hooked onto the gate. And
I
then
mean, not even that. There's like the new like actual like hardware like cameras.
yeah,
That it's called. I think it's called like baseline vision or something like that, or line vision or something like that. And it's like a little like it's like a little device. It's a camera that clips right where the net is, and it's able to see like the entire court and interpret like line calling and all that stuff. It's basically like Hawkeye.
yeah,
So in that sense, like if these different tournament facilities, if they're able to kind of adopt something like that, and I think it's more than affordable for for those sort of facilities, because it's like what I think it's like $1,500. Obviously, it's like not going to be for like consumer level people, but they're able to adopt that, and that's like
yeah, it's over.
there's nothing they can really do about it.
Yeah, like
That would like take off the pressure of like you having to deal with like all these bad calls, or bad calls. Like, yeah, fine, that's it's like some people are just not able to kind of like call very accurately, but like if you're just blatantly cheating and it's very obvious that you're cheating, then sucks for you.
That would be a god.
and it's like I said, it's not far away, to be honest. I think it's probably like 5 years, latest 10 years from now, where we're gonna have all that technology, so it's eliminate that cheaters. I guess last fun topic on my end to bring up from like tennis etiquette is this is something that I'm gonna try to implement into my game going forward, and I don't think it's at the level of like cheaters, but the underhand serve. I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of the players been using it, right? Like it's starting to be used more throughout the tennis tour.
It's like, I mean, that
I use it.
the underhand and like drop shot. I think those two shots, I think within like in the past have been kind of like something that people are like, oh, it's kind of a cop out sort of thing. Like it's almost looked down upon, right? But I think like now it's become kind of like people kind of looking at it as an actual way to kind of just actual like strategy, because I don't know, it's just the element of like surprise, I guess, in a way, a lot of the time.
Yeah, I personally, I think if you can fake your opponent now on a drop shot, like a really good drop shot, the audience go crazy, right? Like Nadal's really good at drop shot on clay and all that stuff. So like, if you're and the whole thing is to try to catch your opponent by surprise, because your opponent is not ready to do a drop shot. So why can't you do the same thing for the underhand serve? Now, with a caveat is that to the point where he said earlier, he's always looks over to see his opponent's ready, feet planted, getting ready for a serve. You cannot just do the underhand serve while he's walking towards getting ready to return, right? That's not good etiquette. But if he's getting ready and he's like standing way far back, returning your serve, and you see like, oh, he's a little far back, I can do an underhand serve and catch him out by surprise. To me, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think the underhand service, I don't have any problem with that. I don't even see it as being a cheap tactic. I don't even look at it as a cheap tactic. Is if you're not ready, you should be able to be ready for anything. So if it's that, then you run to the ball, and then you make a good approach shot and you punish it. If the underhand service is not that,
and you can, so
it's fair game.
Yeah, like he literally just described what you would do to a drop shot. If the drop shot is not good enough, you go up and you approach and you punish it.
Like, I mean, like it comes as a risk for the opponent just as much as for you, because like if I'm sorry, but like if you hit a shitty like underarm serve and you're not able to make it, now you're putting pressure on yourself to hit the second serve. And if you can't make that, then that's not you,
Yeah.
Like, so like, I mean, in the case of drop shot as well, if you're not able to hit a good drop shot, they're gonna punish you for it.
Exactly.
So it comes just as much of a risk as any other shot out there that you make. So I think it's honestly fair game, and yeah, and it's just part of it. It's part of the game, and it's part of strategizing, and strategizing is just part of tennis.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair for me. and I want to utilize it.
Well, I mean, maybe you guys can let us know like what you guys think of like you know the drop shot and underarm serves in tennis, and whether you think that is you know, the
A fair tennis etiquette for the match. I kind of want to talk about this for long, very quickly, but long. Same topic as etiquette. Can you tell us that one time, you caught your opponent not cheating, sorry, but eating before you serve? This is okay. Yeah, yeah. Talk. Yeah, yeah. Just build up that story because the way you build up that story is funny. So yeah.
I know that guy playing tournaments in San Diego. We met in the final of a tournament, and then we had a good match. When we matched, and then we split set, and then we played the third set. So he's kind of like, I guess you could call him. I guess I consider him a rival, but he's known for being he's pretty much just a troll. He's a goofball. He's just
You do all kinds of things to like surprise his opponent or like weird stuff.
it's not that weird, but he's just very animated guy on and off the tennis court. He'll say very funny things and stuff, but he's not. But ethically, he's pretty good in etiquette, and stuff like that. But so I met him again in that another tournament, and so I was playing, and we're in the middle of the set, and then so I remember walking up to the baseline, and I was bouncing my ball twice, and then as I look up, I look over the net, and he's there ready to receive, but he was munching on something. Like this was like he was munching on a Twinkie. I was thinking, oh, I was about to serve, and I thought he's actually eating something in the middle of our match.
I think that's honestly pretty intimidating. Have you if you were to look at the other side of the net and you see this guy just punching on something, like he's just ready to go, like he's about to down.
Yeah, I stopped for a second. I was thinking, oh, whoa, okay. But then I stood out, and he was fine. He played just fine. So,
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the topics that we were able to cover today. Thank you to Long for joining us on this week's episode. Hopefully we'll have you back at some point. I mean, as just a regular guest, to be honest. I think it would just be fun to kind of just follow up and see, and we'll join in, and we'll just have sort of just a normal conversation.
Yeah, 100%. And maybe we'll see, your road to recovery from your tennis elbow, and then seeing you succeed at a few more tournaments this summer.
And hopefully I'll see you in the same tournaments as well, though. So
Yes, and a final.
I'll make sure to have like the best calls, and make sure I don't cheat you out of anything.
yeah, no, I'm looking forward to us all playing tournaments in the US. San Diego's a nice location for tournaments. It's been really fun.
Hopefully you guys have a wonderful week ahead, and we'll see you guys next week for another episode.
Yeah.
This has been the Tennis Fans Podcast.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.